Hello guys, welcome back to a new video on the Wonder Sister channel where we talk about everything Fortnite Creative related. Today we're going over the perception trigger and everything it has in store for us. So let's get right down into it. Okay, so before I start the video, I would like to say if you want to join our Discord for a ton more Fortnite Creative support, you can go over here, make a ticket, and then you can get support from our creative professionals. Okay, let's get into it. So you can find this device in your content devices, and it should be, once you search up PER, search up PER, and then it'll pop up perception trigger. You can place this trigger down, and then as soon as it's down, we can go right into the settings of it. Right over here, you're going to want to go to the 4 lines, and then the first setting up here is times can trigger. This is the amount of times that this device can trigger. Can it trigger infinite times, only once, or all the way up to 10 times? I would suggest keeping this on infinite, but it really depends for your map, just how many times the device can trigger. Next here, trigger delay. This is the delay you want after this device gets triggered. So say this device detects somebody, which I'll talk about later. When it detects somebody, you want the trigger delay to be active. So whenever it gets triggered, it'll have a delay, and then it'll send out the function or the event. Next here is reset delay. This is the reset. How long do you want it to reset before this device can send out another function? That's pretty much it. Next here, visible in game. Do you want this visible in game, on or off? Yes or no? Next here, enable at game start. Do you want this to enable at the game start? Pretty self-explanatory. On or off, yes or no. Next here is trigger VFX and trigger SFX. VFX is the visual effects of the device, and the SFX is the sound or the audio of the device. So up to you if you could turn either of these on or off, depending on your map. Next here, you have activating team and activating class. Activating team is just the team that can activate the device, and then activating class is the class that can activate the device. You can either have both of these on or just one of these on, whatever you want for your teams and classes of your map. Next here, invert team selection. You can invert the selection that you put up here for team. So say I set this to team 1 for activating team. I can come down here and invert it, and then it'll do everybody except team 1. So I'm going to set that back. And then below that, invert class selection. This is the exact same thing, but for the activating class. So if I set the activating class to 1, and then I turn invert on, that means every single class except 1 can activate this device. We're going to turn all those off for now. The next settings all the way from here all the way down, or for player looking away, seeing player, sight, all that kind of stuff. So, which is the main purpose of this device. So, whenever a player looks away, transmit every X triggers. So, this basically means for every single time a player looks away, it will send out a function every X amount of times, which you can set here. So, say I set this to 3, or say I set this to 2. Whenever a player looks away the first time, it will not send a function, and then the second time the player looks away from this device, it will send a function that you can send to a different device. I'm going to set this to 1 for now. And below this is player look away times can trigger. This is just how many times the player can activate this device, every X triggers. The next one, device sees a player, transmit every X triggers, and device sees a player's time can trigger. It's the same thing as these two up here, but these two are just, it can transmit every however many triggers, as we said before, 1, 2, 3, 4, however many you want, and then how many times can it be triggered. And this one up here is for look away, and this one's for every time the device sees a player. And then down here we have device loses sight of player. So every time this device will lose sight of a player, it will do the same things, transmit every X triggers, and trigger it how many ever times you want. And the last one is player looked at, and for both of these, so whenever a player looks at it, it'll transmit every X triggers, and then this is the amount of times that this one could trigger. So you can set each of these individually. If you read these, they're pretty self-explanatory, but yeah. After that, heading over to the Functions tab. Right here on the top, we have our Enable and Disable settings. Enable when receiving from, Disable when receiving from. These two are in every single device in the game, so pretty self-explanatory. Enabling, disabling, when receiving from. So the next one here is times triggered. So this is a reset times triggered. So whenever this gets receiving from a channel, it will reset the amount of times triggered that we set all here. So this one right here, every X triggers, all the ones that say every X triggers, it will reset everything on a channel or on a function. The next one, let's go over to the events tab at the end. Right here we have on device sees a player, on device loses sight of player, on player looks at device, and on player looks away from device. So this is sees a player, loses a player, looks at when a player looks at the device and looks away from the device. These are basically the events that you will be sending out based on whatever settings you have down here. So on device sees player, we're actually going to do something with all these settings. So we're actually going to take a barrier device just so I can show you. If you don't know how to use the barrier device, I will link it in the iCard right here. But here's our barrier device, so we can, I'm just going to quickly look at the settings. They look actually pretty fine right now. So I'm just going to leave it, and I'm going to turn off the enable during game phase none, so we can enable it. So if we come over here to our perception trigger, if we go to our events, on device sees a player, we're going to set this to our barrier device that we just placed down over here. And then we're going to do enable. And then whenever device loses sight of a player, we're going to do our barrier device again, and then we're going to disable it. So whenever the perception trigger sees us, it'll enable the barrier, and then whenever it can't see us anymore, it'll disable it. So let's test this out. So we're in, and then as soon as the game starts, and we get in range of the perception trigger, it will enable the barrier, but if it can't see us anymore, which actually, hold on, I cannot place anything. Let me just edit the settings real quick. Alright, let's try this again. So whenever the device sees us, there's a certain range that you can see when you're editing the device, but I think this is the range. So when the device can see us all the way over there, it will enable the barrier, but when it can't see us anymore, it will disable it. So if we come closer here, the device can see us right now, but if we place a wall, the device can't see us and the barrier will disable. But when it can see us again, and when it can't, just like that. That's pretty much how this device works. It's really cool because if you get close to it like this, like it moves with you, which looks pretty funky. If you do have any questions about this device, please leave a comment down below. I do reply to as many comments as I possibly can, which is pretty much all of them. And if you did enjoy the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It does support the channel a ton. We just recently hit 5K and we're still growing. And if you want to support me even further, you can use code peeper in the Fortnite item shop. That's peeper, P-E-E-P-E-R. And I hope this video did help you out. I'll see you all in the next one. A sister out.